you all talk a little bit about how you chose law enforcement, and maybe specifically, I know we have two actual law enforcement ladies, and then an attorney who is now our AD of policy, so a little different probably path to law enforcement. Why don't you talk about it a little bit?
So for me, once upon a time, I thought I wanted to be a chemical engineer. And at some point in college, I kind of changed paths and realized I wanted to go into federal law enforcement, that was the better fit for me because I've always been very inquisitive. I've also been a very analytical person. And I wanted a career that I felt would make a difference. And I feel that law enforcement, particularly federal law enforcement, is the perfect combination of all of those skills. In my career, a lot of my investigations have been in the child exploitation arena. And I believe, within HSI, ERO, and ICE, everything we do is important, but that particular arena, I feel, just really makes an impact because we are saving the lives of children and protecting children. So that's a lot of, it's just the perfect fit for me. Sometimes you think back and you think, what if, but I don't really think that. Like, I believe that I ended up where I was supposed to be. It's awesome.
Mine was a little bit of a different path. I didn't really have a goal to be in law enforcement or certainly the military when I pursued college. In fact, I was very set. I was pre-med for the first 2 years and had wanted to be an obstetrician and then botany and chemistry got in the way in college. It's like, this is not really my thing. One of the gifts, again, going back to my mom and my grandmother, is my mother insisting on continuing to speak French with me. As we came back to the United States, I would continue to answer in English, but her shortcoming in English was my strength to learn French. So it kind of opened up that side of the brain on learning language, and then, of course, knowing French, I was able to pick up a couple of other languages fairly easily. And so in college, I went to that just because it was my comfort zone with Spanish and business. And I grew up in a rather structured environment. My dad is a retired colonel from the military. I lived on 5 continents. I went to numerous schools. So this sense of finality after I graduated from college, I couldn't take it. It's like, okay, you're done, boom, go find a job. And so much to the horror of my parents, not horror necessarily, but here they had paid, all this money for me to go to college, and then I decided to go to the recruiter, and because it just felt right, I joined the military, and I joined the Army, and I became a Russian linguist again, just kind of going down that path of interest in language. And I was in the intelligence community, which I absolutely loved. That was something that I didn't know it was in me, but to be the analyst, and it was very enjoyable. So coming from that structure, coming out of the military, I had a window there where I was actually going to go back to school to become a midwife, because that was still in my, just in my goals. But, life calls. I had children at the time, and I became an analyst for then INS. And just through the good graces or just leadership at the time, back when we had district directors, I was very blessed in that they saw potential in me with my languages, suggesting why don't you become law enforcement. And so that's what I did. So I became a deportation officer in 1998, loved it, and just saw that the language skills came to play. And very blessed with mentors and just to fall into what came natural to me, and that was taking care of people. I absolutely love leadership. And so that was my path. To be very honest, I really never saw that coming, but so blessed and fortunate, excuse me, to have become the field office director for the Seattle field office in 2010. So you just never know where your path takes you.
Exactly.
And here I am now in a much different role, but it's just sometimes you don't know if you try to be too rigid on what you think you're supposed to do or what other people want you to do, your true calling may be, overshadowed by that. So that's a takeaway when we talk to, I have 2 daughters, so talking to my daughters or talking to the young women who are in our academy currently. It's just, if this is your calling, right, just settle into it, and the rest kind of takes care of itself, right?
Exactly.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
So for me, I've always been interested in law and justice. That was always very exciting. And in law school, I focused a lot on crim pro and other criminal clinical classes, and was a student prosecutor. I think that, as Natalie just mentioned, the jobs that were available to me and sort of stumbling upon the federal government position, I was able to then specialize in the administrative law realm, having previously been with the Government Information Law Division in OPLA. What has really been fortunate for me in terms of ending up in law enforcement agencies, prior to ICE, I was with DEA, is my admiration for law enforcement officers. That stems partly from my mother, right? Just being in awe of the strength and courage it takes for someone to be in that position, to protect the public and to put other people's safety first before theirs. And so I also feel that I'm very fortunate that although I'm in a supportive role within management administration, that I'm serving this greater purpose, and I'm supporting law enforcement officers and the mission of a law enforcement agency.